Now what we want to do is take and put a line of text down here. Now bear in mind the heading tag that we placed in, that H1 tag, has made this text bold and large. And more specifically, it's following the default font of the browser, which in this case just happens to be Times New Roman. And we can modify that a little bit later on too, and we'll talk about doing that in HTML as well as doing that in CSS when we get to the cascading style sheets part. But for now, what we want to do is have a line of text coming along the bottom here, and then we'll apply a link to another document. So we're going to be creating another page as well. Let's go back into our code real quick though, make an adjustment to this document. We're going to hit the Enter key at the end of that H1 line, making sure that we're separated like this. And we're just going to type in, this is some body text for our page. And I want you to notice that by doing that, because this tag, the H1 tag itself, has a behavior, it says to make the stuff inside of it really large. But it also says to put some spacing above and below this line. So this is going to be on a line by itself, regardless of where our syntax here is. So if I hit the delete key to bring this up on one line like this, just do a quick save. Let's go back in the browser and refresh it. It's on the next line. And that's because of the behavior of the actual tags. This tag is kind of like saying, I want this stuff inside of here on a line by itself. And so whether or not that's where it is or way down here like this does not matter. The HTML is being interpreted. In other words, the tags instruct the browser on how to make something look. So that's important to understand about HTML, is the behavior of it. See, I refresh the page, nothing's changed. Even though the layout of my code looks different, the page stays where it is. Now, if I wanted to have another line underneath this one without actually marking this up right here, I can use a break tag. And normally in HTML, we would type it out just like this. And then, of course, I can have the next line, of text. We'll just put that text in there like that. If I do a save here, watch what happens here now. Refresh. That break tag is telling it to put that stuff on the next line. Again, regardless of the layout of my syntax here, the tags are what are telling it what to do. So in other words, laying out in our code the way we want something to look is not going to work. We have to give it the browser instructions. Furthermore, this tag right here is a non-container tag. In other words, it's an empty element. It doesn't have stuff wrapped inside of it. Notice that there's no closing tag like this for the break tag. In fact, that tag I just typed doesn't even exist in the HTML specification. It means nothing, which means the browser would simply ignore it. Wouldn't show it on screen as text or anything, but it just would bypass it and ignore it and not know what it means. But I do need to close all of my tags, especially if I'm using XML namespaces. XHTML, which most document browsers are going to look upon your document that way if it's instructed to do so with those doc type definitions that we saw earlier, the angle bracket with the percent sign, or the with the exclamation point up here, something like this, where we'd see a doc type. And then we might have something like HTML in here like this, and that simply defines that as a doc type of HTML. But we might have XHTML or throw out an XML namespace to the end of that and so forth. And if that's the case, which it's not right now, we're not going to get into that just yet, but if that was the case, I really want to have this closed. So you may see tags that look like this. And what that is saying I'm opening and closing the tag all in one fell swoop because it's an empty container. So empty tags, tags that do not contain content within them like the H1 tag does, need to be defined like this. Break tags, paragraph tags, a P tag for paragraphs, things of that nature. So bear that in mind when you see a tag like this, even with stuff inside of it like an image tag, for example. Image tags do not require a closing tag because the image tag defines an image you're going to pull in onto the page. And we'll get into that tag here in a little bit, and you'll see me put a / at the end of it when we do. Okay, so for the layout purposes for ourselves, though, I would like to have that on the next line like this. And so the next line I'm going to do, I'm going to put another break tag here. Oops. And on the next line, I'm going to put in this is a link. And I'm going to put the link in all upper caps just so we can see it. That's not a code thing. I'm just doing it for the look of it. And I'm going to put a period at the end of it. Go ahead and save the document. And what I should have now, looking at my code, is a heading with some spacing at the top and the bottom of it, and then a line that says this is some body text for our page, and then another line that says the next line of text, and then another line that says this is a link. So let's take a look at the page. And sure enough, here it is. But it's not a link. Well, that's because I need to wrap tags around that content to make it a link. The word link is what I'd like to be clickable. I'd like this to be the clickable piece. I'm going to take that back into lowercase real quick, just so we can have it to where it looks like the rest of everything else. And around this content, I'm going to wrap it with anchor tags, which are tags that look like this. Now I'm going to add some stuff to this, but I'm just putting my anchor tag in as such. That's going to make that blue and clickable. If I save it right now, though, and take a look at it, we can see from here that it doesn't really do anything. And the reason is because I haven't really given the proper attributes for that tag. So let's go back into the code and do that. Here's where we start to do something we haven't seen yet. I'm going to put a space after that A, but inside the opening tag. And I'm going to type out the word href, which is a hyperreference, equals, and in quotes, I'm going to put second page.html, which means that I want the document, and I complete the quotes, I'm going to, when I click on this, within the same folder that the current web page is located, it's going to look for a second page.html. So let's take and do a quick save on this and check this out. If I click refresh, oh look, we've got a link here. And if I mouse over it, looking down here in the file bar down here, I can see that it's going to try to find second page.html, which doesn't exist. We have to build one. So let's do this real quick. Let's come back into our notepad. We've saved this file as homepage.html. So we've got that saved off and we just tested it. Let's do a file save as. And let's save this in all files here. We're going to save this as second page. So I'm just going to come in here and change the name of this to second page.html. And so now what I have are two documents inside of that directory. One second page, and the other one is going to be homepage. So now I have two files inside my test site folder. I'm going to click on this just in case you're in XP. It would look more something like this. But now I have those two files inside this folder on my C drive. So what if I want to open them both and look at them at the same time? Well, I need to open up another instance of Notepad. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to open up another Notepad instance and bring that in here and size it up for our screen. And again, going to files, or excuse me, start menu, programs, accessories, we can get to another instance of Notepad. I'm going to do a file open, and I'm going to open up the home page because that's the one, and again I keep having to tell it show me all files, because that's the one we don't have open at the moment. So now I have both my files open in two different Notepad instances. And again, using the tools such as Dreamweaver and so forth to make this a little bit easier to deal with. But for now, you should have two Notepad windows open, one with our homepage.html and one with our second page.html. So now our home page points at second page, which is this link here. So if I minimize that page for a moment and come back in, let's change this to say back to home page or back to first page. We'll put in the text back to, and then actually in the link text I'm going to change the word link, get us used to going in between the tags where they open and close, back to home page like this. Notice the period's outside the tag too, so it's not part of the link. Let's do a quick save and make sure that we have home page up there right now. So let's refresh this and click on the link, and now it takes us to second page, which actually exists in the directory now. So we have back to home page. If I click this, does it take me back? No. Well, why not? I changed the link to say home page. We didn't change the attribute for the reference of where it points, did we? So let's take a look at the notepad. On the second page, which is the one we're looking at in the browser right now, we have home page here, but it still points at second page. So let's change this back to home page. And note that the text here has nothing to do with the name of our file. We just happen to know that that's our page name. If we look at the other TextPad version, which is right here, we see that it is called homepage.html. I could put any words I want clearly as the link text. That doesn't matter. And if you're wondering how I'm doing this back and forth thing, I'm using my Alt key. I'm holding down my Alt key and then pressing the Tab key, and that brings this little window up. While I'm holding the Alt key down still, I can tab through everything that I have open on my machine right now. So I can, and of course down here I see the name of the document, so I know which one of those notepads I'm looking at, home page versus the other one. And the more things you have open, the longer it takes to get there. So that's how that's taking place. Just hold down your Alt key and use the Tab key to cycle through them. Do a quick save here. Let's bring the browser back up and do a refresh. And now if I click homepage, it takes me back to homepage.html. So that's our links. We have them going together. We've linked some things together here. Now we're going to start modifying other attributes on the page, and then start taking a look at bringing some style sheets language into the mix.